been in the past 48 hours since that game, Ben, it's been a bit negative in Netland. First, you have Karis LeVert spraining his thumb, took a hard fall in that loss in Phoenix, and is out for the game going on as we speak against the Jazz, in which the Nets actually have a 6-point lead in the second quarter with Garrett Temple starting in place of LeVert. But it's scary because 1 year ago tonight, Ben, Karis LeVert was carted off the court in Minnesota for that devastating leg injury that he missed a bunch of games for, was able to come back for the playoffs. But almost a year later, for LeVert to have a sprained thumb, I mean, hopefully it's not too serious, but you saw Dinwiddie miss some time with a sprained thumb last year. You need your thumb to shoot the basketball, to handle the basketball. So I'm sure they'll exercise caution. But LeVert has to be the most promising player on the Nets roster because they know what they have in Irving. They know what they're getting when Kevin Durant's healthy. And LeVert's supposed to be that third piece on what should be a championship-level roster next year. And every time he goes down, I get nervous, and rightfully so. I mean, LeVert is a great talent. He's a great kid, and you have to hope it's not serious.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a funny thing that happens here, though, which is just that I had talked to you about this last week. I think LeVert is almost a little bit better for that second unit sometimes with the way that Irving plays, and just having the defense on the first unit really helps. So I'm interested to see how they play here with Temple in the starting lineup because I think he's a better fit with Irving on the floor. And God bless Kenny Atkinson. He made the move to put Jared Allen into the starting lineup, Jason. And I just want to note, not to crow about this, but they have looked like a much better team since he did that. And I think that's a huge thing. But there's one other piece of Nets news that I think we need to get to today as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was a bit of a shocker. The Nets replaced Brett Yermark in September with Steve Levy, who was a former executive with TNT. And the news came out today that after only 57 days on the job, I mean, that just sounds like a Knicks tenure to me. But they've agreed to mutually part ways, and we don't have much information as of now. There's speculation going around. It has nothing to do with the events in China. It might have just been philosophical differences. I know Levy wanted to bring, esports to Barclays Center with state-of-the-art Wi-Fi and fans being able to bet on games and right from their seats and go completely cashless and get concessions on cards and things like that. So he had the right ideas. I don't know much about David Levy to say anything really about him, but my hope, Ben, is that the Nets avoid controversy because now that they're in the national spotlight more than they've been in years, this could be looked at as a negative move. But my hope for the Nets is that they bring in a guy to run their organization that has a little bit more of a basketball background because Levy's a businessman. He's excelled in television. He did great work for TNT all these years, and I'm just hoping they could bring in a guy that's a bit more basketball savvy, someone that Joe Tsai trusts. And this isn't really anything from a basketball standpoint. Sean Marks had nothing to do with this. I just think it was a mutual parting of the ways, but it's definitely newsworthy because everything the Nets do now is newsworthy. That's what happens when you sign two of the top 10, 15 players in the league this past offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We'll have to see how this shakes things up, but we'll kind of have to check back in, and maybe next week we'll know a little bit more. But any other final thoughts on the Nets before we get to our marquee matchups?
Well, in our honorary marquee matchup, you're going down, buddy. Okay, you're going to have 3 Bulls closing out on Joe Harris when he hits 10 threes on Saturday. So, ha!
Yeah, that's very possible. I can't really argue with any of that.
Wow. You're
Yeah,
really good at smack talk.
this is where I'm at as a Bulls fan. I'm just waiting for the gut punch. But
And I'm waiting for the bliss to return. I don't like Ben's Bulls Blues.
I have to say there is one thing that's going to cheer me up, which is some good basketball. And one of the games that I'm really looking forward to is Clippers at Rockets. I don't think Paul George will be back, and even if he is, he's not going to be 100%. But this is a great game because the Rockets have shown flashes. And I'm really interested to watch this Rockets team. They might be one of the most interesting teams in the league because their ceiling is just so high, Jason. They're a team that if they get things right, look at that starting 5. I mean, my goodness, Jason. Westbrook, Harden, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Clint Capella. If those guys have their head on right and Westbrook and Harden give a little bit of effort on defense, which has really not been the case so far, that is an incredible starting lineup. Now, their bench struggles, but if we've learned anything, you can get a couple guys to kind of secure the bench as the season goes on. So this is kind of the thing with them is, can they get one or two guys to kind of fill out that roster? But in the meantime, this is going to be a great test for them against the Clippers in Houston. So I'm excited to watch that tomorrow night. And what about you, Jason? What are the marquee matchups that you have in number 2?
Well, just real quick, I want you while I'm saying what I have to say, I want you when I'm done to tell me A or B for our second marquee matchup because I have 2 listed, for a little peek behind the curtain. But it's a shame that they didn't pencil this game as Paul George's return. I think it holds a lot more weight than him playing against the Pelicans. You would hope he would come back on a nationally televised stage against the Harden Westbrook pairing. But listen, I'm not the medical staff of the Clippers. Otherwise, I'd have a lot of money and fancy house. But the Rockets actually got some bad news with Eric Gordon with a knee injury, and he's going to be out for a while. So that hurts Houston, especially since they're not the deepest team in the NBA. But all right, Ben, A or B?
I guess I'll go A, but I actually have kind of a wild card that I might mention as an additional honorable mention at the end of this.
So my second marquee matchup of the week is Kings at Lakers, Friday the 15th. I mean, the Sacramento Kings are officially the Buddy Hield show with De'Aaron Fox being out, with Bagley being out, but I think it's a good test for them to go down the Pacific Coast Highway and play against LeBron and the Lakers. We haven't even talked about this episode and how well they've looked. Anthony Davis playing through pain, but I think that's going to be a good matchup. Is your wild card what is my B matchup or no?
No, but the best game of the week, in my opinion, I'm going to go with this one first, is on Saturday. The Raptors travel to Dallas in a game that I just can't wait to watch. I can't wait to watch Siakam and the Raptors try to defend Luka, who has been just incredible this season. A guy who I think you could say arguably is one of the top 5, maybe the top 10 guys in the entire league. He's 20 years old, Jason, and the way that he manipulates the pick and roll is just incredible. There was a great clip in the recent Zach Lowe article of the things that he liked where he talked about him throwing lobs. And one of the things that I loved is in one of the clips he showed, Doncic goes in, drags in the defender. He uses the pick to drag in the defender who was guarding, I think it was Dwight Powell. And then he takes one dribble back, like he's going to go to the step back, which drags his defender up over Powell so that he gives a little bit of space, and then he just threads this pass in for an alley-oop. And it was just, he knew exactly what to do to manipulate the defense, and you see it now. He has these little moves that are just incredible. So I can't wait to watch them play Toronto, who have been locked down on defense, and see what he can do against them and a longer defender like Siakam. That is going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, what do you make, too, of Luka and how well he's played to start the season?
Oh, he's been on another level. And for a kid that young, I mean, we talked about the stat last week with Kenny average a triple double, and he has not slowed down. And it's been important for the Mavericks, who have been one of the surprise teams in the early portion of this season. Porzingis has struggled. He looked good in the first couple of games and has really not been himself. So, he's kind of been a one-man band down there in Dallas, and he's putting the league on notice, and it's been very impressive to watch. What I'm nervous about this week for the Mavericks, though, is Kristaps Porzingis returning to the Garden. It's not a marquee matchup because the Knicks are terrible, but I feel for that kid and the boos that are going to rain down on him. I mean, I have a buddy who's actually getting married in March. It's one of the weddings I'm going to. He bought tickets months ago for this, and he has done nothing but talk about how he's going to just boo the hell out of Porzingis. So I think there's going to be some extra security at the Garden on Thursday night. And at the end of the day, I think the Mavericks are going to put a whipping on the Knicks, but it's not going to be pretty pregame intros there for Kristaps.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I have to say, just looking at the schedule, you had a tough one because there are a lot of great games. I mean, Nets at Nuggets is solid. That's going to be fun. I mean, that's like a 50-point Kyrie type game. And with the way that the Nuggets have played defensively this year, he could light them up. But at any rate, Jason, before we wrap up today, what we really need to do is in a fitting close to 100 episodes, with everyone listening. And we can't say enough how much we appreciate all the support, all the questions we've gotten for our mailbags, all the nice reviews we've gotten on iTunes. 5 stars, remember? And through it all, we've just had all your support, and we love it. And we thought we would go over a couple of our favorite moments before we close today's show. And I have to say, Jason, I don't think there's a better way to open this than with my favorite thing, which is your Peter Griffin laugh.
Thanks, buddy.
And with that, I think we'll get into just a couple of things that we're thankful for and some of our favorite moments. I mean, I think first and foremost, Jason, I mean, we have to thank some of the guests who have been on here.
Yeah, we've had some good guests. I mean, some of them have been friends of ours, but the fact that we're able to strike up a friendship with Anthony Puccio and Nets Daily, who is one of the young up-and-coming star writers in the basketball industry, and getting him to come on our show multiple times. I mean, he's been on like 5 episodes, Baseline Jumper, so he's been on a good amount, breaking down the Nets, giving us some locker room insight. I'm appreciative of him because, we've tried to get some other guests, full disclosure, and Anthony Puccio, Pooch, as you guys know him, has been gracious enough to come on multiple times. So we thank him for that. And also a lot of our friends. I mean, my buddy Christian, who I work with, he's been on multiple times. My buddy Christian Ello, who is a devoted listener and actually asked me to get him some swag, even though I had told him he had to purchase it himself. So those are some of my favorite guests. And then, of course, the guys that you've invited on that have been fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Pete Mertens is the guy who comes straight to mind, who's just a great all-star everything, great all-star guest, husband, all of it. So thank you to all the people who've come on our show. We can't name every single one because we'd be here all day, and we can't name all the people who've helped support us and get us to where we are, but you have made this possible, and we can't thank you enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey. My favorite part is the fact that we came together as strangers. The summer before we started the pod, and I don't know if we've ever mentioned this before, but I was the NBA editor at Double G Sports, and you would come on as a staff writer, and you would write these like 5,000 word articles that I would have to edit. And my first thought was, oh my goodness, I'm not getting paid for this, and I have to edit this guy's articles. I don't even know him. And I think I like sent you an email, like, not critiquing, but being like, hey man, like your writing's great, but try and condense it. And you were like, yeah, let's start a podcast. And I said, okay. And the fact that like, we both, I said this at the top, we work full-time jobs. We live 6 hours apart by car. And the fact that we've developed this bond, this friendship, over the last 2 years, mostly on Skype. I know we've met in person twice and we've had a couple of close calls, but we'll see each other again, Ben, I promise. It's just great how, we've evolved as podcast hosts and now, the good friends that we are. And I'm just thankful for you and all the work you put in and your passion for the NBA and how we kind of balance each other out with me talking a lot of crap and you, breaking down X's and O's and schematics like a champ. I mean, I'm just proud to have you as my partner and even more proud to have you as my friend.
I couldn't have said it better myself. You've been awesome. And I couldn't have picked a better person to do this show with. And we couldn't have picked a better audience than all of you folks listening. We can never tell you how much we appreciate it. We can just do our best to let you know that we love all of you for all the support you've given us through 100 episodes. I can't believe we've made it through 100 episodes, Jason. And it's all thanks to the people who have listened and helped us stay afloat, given us ideas, support. Like I said, questions from mailbags, stuff like that. We appreciate all of it. And please keep listening, keep rating, keep reviewing, 5 stars, please, and just keep listening in because we love it.
Yeah, no, we're really appreciative. And stay tuned because we have a few things hopefully in the works that will take this podcast to new levels. So we thank you for rocking with us. 100 episodes down. Hopefully many, many more to come. Ben, I love you. Thank you so much. Let's keep this rolling. And we appreciate all the listeners. So before we go, please subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget it.
5 stars, please.
I'll be back next week with episode 101.
Peace.
I love the NBA.